Hello, mate to Thrive Nation. We have a sleep crisis. It seems like we've got crises all over the place, but I think this is one of the biggest and most important topics to discuss. We have discussed it in the past on the podcast, 207 episodes now. But I've got someone really special, a sleep specialist. And to those avatars and archetypes there that I see, corporate executives, business leaders, entrepreneurs, who really don't value and respect your sleep, this show is for you. We're going to put that through the frame with a sleep specialist. He's an author, a sleep author. He's written a brilliant book, The Sleep Advantage. He's been named top 25 of USA's health coaches, so incredible achievement. And he's the founder of the Sleep Science Academy. Welcome to the show, Devin Burke.
Thank you so much, Steve. I'm excited to talk sleep with you here.
Brilliant. We run a very data-centric model in our corporate wellness programs, performance programs, deal with a lot of different organizations like YPO, EO. These people are like high achievers, really have to get the job done and do not realize the ROI. And we're going to put a link to Devin's talk on the TEDx because I think ROI sleep is so undervalued that I think if our business leaders and entrepreneurs understood how important it is, they would start taking note of just really respecting and honoring that. But be that as may, let's talk about what the situation is on our sleep. And if you can just put it through the film and the frame of data, how many hours, what's happened to our sleep architecture. I do remember when I researched, I think in 1910, the average American got 9 hours sleep. So give us a little bit of a rundown of the history of where we've come from and where we are now.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, really, the sleep started to decline with the invention of the light bulb, right? People were staying up later. They weren't using incandescent lighting. And as technology has evolved, and now we can work at whatever time with lights, with our computers, with our devices, working from home. I mean, technology has invaded the bedroom, has invaded the home, and that has directly cut into the amount of sleep that people are getting, not to mention all the added stress of the world. People are just, up late at night, either, listening to the news or working too late or doing things that are really the complete opposite of what we should be doing to get the rest that we need. And you can see that directly in the numbers. People are getting less sleep, less quality sleep. And unfortunately, it is an epidemic.
Do we
I
know the
mean,
numbers,
it's
Devin? Like if we had just to put it, I know you mentioned in one of your talks that 9 hours in 1910. What are the numbers on overall sleep? And then do we know the numbers of since we started tracking sleep of REM sleep and deep sleep? What's happened to these numbers in the recent history of technology?
Yeah, most people are getting less than 7 hours. The National Sleep Foundation recommends 7 to 9 hours, depending on your gender, your age, your level of stress. Most people are not getting that. Most people are getting, less than 7, 6.5, 5 hours. I mean, a lot of people are, and some people are aware of the impact. A lot of people are not aware of the impact. We
Mm,
should be getting 20 to 25% of our total sleep time in these deeper stages of delta sleep, REM sleep, the restorative sleep, the kind of sleep that has you be able to wake up and feel energized, feel refreshed, make good decisions. Most people are getting less and less of that restorative sleep for a number of reasons, whether that be the consumption of alcohol, whether that be the light from our devices, whether that be the increase of amount of stress in our daily lives. I mean, there's so many factors, people eating the wrong type of foods at the wrong times.
mm,
There's a lot against us when we're talking about how to improve sleep quality. Most people are just either they don't know or they don't really care, unfortunately.
yeah.
Now, people are waking up and starting to make these changes with people like yourself, people like myself that are trying to get this information out to people so that they can start to make these simple shifts that make a huge difference. But really, you can't master what you don't measure. So, if you're listening to this and you don't understand how many hours you're sleeping or the quality of your sleep, or, the first place is really to start to understand, get a measurement.
Yeah.
There's amazing devices now that can help us. They're not 100% accurate, but you can see trends. You can see, hey, I did this and this. I noticed a difference in my HRV. I noticed a difference in my quality of sleep. I felt a difference. Um, and so that's what's really the benefit of technology now is we have these devices that can help us make better decisions, like the Aura Ring or the Ultra Human Ring or the Whoop strap or even the iWatch. Their algorithm has been updated and is pretty good. It's pretty good for sleep tracking.
Brilliant. So in your own experience, I mean, I'm not sure what the research and data says, at Made to Thrive, we say to people 1.5 hours of least of REM sleep, 1.5 hours of deep. If you can get 2 hours of deep and 2 hours of REM, then you like superhuman. What's your sort of like range in terms of your advice to your corporates, business leaders, entrepreneurs? And then what has been happening to that sleep architecture over the last 20 years? Has it been measured and seen that it's decreasing?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, so here the truth is we haven't been measuring our sleep for, it's fairly recent that these devices have integrated into popular culture and we actually can start to see some of that data. A lot of that data is behind doors. These companies, that's why they're evaluated at what they're evaluated because they have so much of this data and they're not so willing to always share the data. But we can make assumptions, and the assumptions are that people are not getting into this deeper quality sleep. I mean, you can see it. I can see it in my business, working with entrepreneurs and business owners. We start to measure their sleep. Automatically, they see, okay, well, I'm not in that 20% range of getting the deeper quality sleep. And when we start to dive into, okay, what's going on as far as your lifestyle or what you're doing or not doing, it becomes very clear as to why. And so it's important for people to understand that, it's not just the quality of your sleep, it's also the amount of sleep. And as we already spoke on, it's less and less. It's going the opposite way.
Yeah.
But I think I do have hope. I think people are understanding, hey, there are popular business leaders, entrepreneurs that are in the limelight that are saying, hey, I used to think it was a waste of time. And now they're prioritizing it. They're protecting it. They're doing things to improve it. So I think the culture is starting to shift, the hustle culture. The sleep is a waste of time, snooze, you lose, all these type of phrases that people sort of have in the back of their head that leads them to not value it. I think that conversation is starting to change 100%. And that is a fairly recent change, I would say, in the last maybe decade.
Okay. I'm going to push you now for numbers because we run a very data-centric model. So what are you advising clients with regards to how much REM sleep, how much deep sleep?
Yeah, total. So it depends on how much sleep you're getting. So 20% of your total sleep time should be in REM or deep. And it depends. And here's the truth. It depends on the individual. So it depends if some people don't need as much sleep as other people. Some people need more sleep. Some people need more deep sleep than REM sleep. And that can change for the individual as well, depending on what's going on in the person's life. So there's not going to be a specific, hey, this number all the time is what I'm shooting for. There's going to be flexibility within that range. But generally, 20% of your total sleep time you want in deep and REM sleep, generally. That's where most people feel the most refreshed. But again, there's so many factors, so many factors as to, the body's kind of has this intelligence. If you need more deep sleep, maybe you get 25% of your total sleep time in deep sleep and a little bit less REM sleep that night. Maybe the next week you're getting more REM sleep than deep sleep. It just depends on what type of stress, what's going on in your life that then has the body knows, okay, now we need to prioritize this stage because it's more important to repair the physical body. Oh no, it's more important to deal with the mind, the mental emotion, the things that the brain works out during dreaming.
So you're saying 20% at least. So if someone's getting 8 hours and 50% is 4, so then 25% will be 2. So that's actually not that much deep in REM sleep if you think about it. Is that research based or is that your experience based? Because I find
No, that's yeah.
I find with my entrepreneurs and business owners, I'm really trying to get their REM sleep up, and I mean, we can talk about the hacks and the whys and the tips and that, but for me, REM sleep and the research that I've looked at is crucially important for cognitive function. And these guys need to perform from a mental performance perspective. So it is quite a high level podcast, this in terms of where we're looking at. But these are the numbers that I know my executives are asking. And we see CEOs and big banks and COOs of big organizations. And, the little decisions that they make can have huge impact. So we really want them to make like informed decisions based on really good sleep. What is your perspective there?
Yeah, again, I think, more is always better for sure. But I think people tend to fall into a bucket of trying to think like, hey, this is what it should be. And if it's not this, then it's not okay. In my experience, working with thousands of people, a lot of them high performing people, sleep architecture is so unique. It can be as unique as somebody's like, fingerprint. So it's sometimes it's hard, you look at the science or the data or the studies, and it's like, well, maybe for this person that's not really accurate, and
Okay.
it's going to change. So that's kind of coming from my point of view, just with working with thousands of people. I think it's good to shoot for, of course, more deep sleep. More than 20% of deep sleep, delta deep sleep or REM sleep is gonna add value. It's gonna be beneficial. Most people, at least the people that we work with, they're not even anywhere close to that
Yeah.
20%.
Yeah, I
When they
got
start
you.
to make some changes and they can get to that 20%, maybe beyond, but it's at least, again, work in my work, the people that come to us, I mean, they're sleeping 2-3 hours a night for
Yeah.
weeks, months, or even years on
You're dealing
sleeping
with
medication.
insomniacs, really, like people that are really struggling with insomnia. Okay,
Big
I
time,
got you.
big time.
Let me press you on wearables we've used. You Whoop, we used Aura. I got Ultra Human on. What do you? I don't know. You might have affiliations or you don't. I'm just trying
Mm.
to get an honest, opinion from an external sort of source because we've tried them all. Some have benefits, others don't. But what have you found has been for your sort of top performers? And that's why I gave you the frame because I think it's really important. These high performance, corporates and business leaders and athletes. What do you suggest?
We use the Aura Ring. Now here's the reason why we use the Aura Ring is because it's the least invasive. And in my experience, it puts off the most consistent data. Now, how accurate is that data? Very questionable,
Yeah.
especially when we're talking about, deep sleep quality. It's pretty accurate with sleep efficiency. It's pretty accurate with wake time, bedtime. Those are pretty accurate. And those are great numbers to understand. But when we're talking about quality of sleep, it's questionable. It's questionable. Now, here's the thing. Is it consistent? And that's really what's important. Is it consistent? Because if you get consistently data that's off, as long as it's consistent, you're going to be able to see the
Exactly.
improvement.
Exactly.
And so not to bash Aura or any of these other companies, the algorithm's getting better, the technology is getting better. I've seen it for over the last 7 years. The algorithms have improved, the technology has improved, the accuracy has improved. Now, how much has it improved? That's up for debate. But the reason why I like the Aura Ring, or any ring for that matter, is just because a lot of times people don't like to wear things on their wrists. They don't like to wear things on their chest, on their head. So it's not invasive.
Yeah.
And so that is one of the big reasons people actually wear it. They don't mind wearing it. It's not this other thing that they're thinking about. It's just
Yeah.
like, oh, it's a ring. I'm not thinking about it.
Got
And
you.
that has been very helpful with the clients that we've worked with. Um, so yeah, that's my 2 cents on the
Good,
sleep.
good, good.
Yeah, the
That's what
wearable
I
data.
wanted. I think, and this is what we said, Made to Thrive, that there's a difference between accuracy and precision. Precision, you're making the same error, it's consistent. Accuracy, you might not be hitting the bull's eye, but if you're slightly off, you're hitting it exactly the same off. So I think that's important for people to understand and the trends and really the relationship between when you are sleeping well and you're not, that differential off your standard deviation, crucially important, I think.
Great distinction. Precision versus accuracy. That's well said. I
Mm,
think that's very valuable,
yeah.
extremely valuable. And if we can look at precision, that's going to add the most value at this point, as far as where we are with the technology, the wearable
Mm.
technology.
Mm. And also what I found, I've been tracking for 7 years is, okay, I have a drink late at night, a celebration of my son's birthday. I eat late. All of a sudden, my sleep architecture tanks. I fast, I feel good, I get outside, had a good day, sleep improves in the architecture. And that's been consistent over time. So I,
Right.
I think it's not like, oh my goodness, I've had a terrible day lifestyle wise and my sleep improves. It's just, and this is consistently over thousands of people we've coached over the years, 25 years of functional medicine. Data is crucially important from a comparative perspective. And I think it's the same with sleep.
For sure. It is. I think the challenge is sometimes people become obsessed
Mm,
with the data and then it backfires. Because if you're freaking out around your data, right, and you're doing all the quote unquote right things and things are not improving,
mm,
then all of a sudden people, when they understand how powerful and important sleep actually is and what happens, that creates this level, it can create full-blown anxiety. And like people that we work with, sometimes full-blown panic attacks,
mm,
like because they are hyper obsessed with, they're not getting the sleep that they need, And so there is, I think for certain people, data can be dangerous if you don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
And it's not just the data, it's how you're thinking about the data. It's not just what you do, it's how you think about
Yeah.
what you do that also makes the difference. So it's a really important caveat because sometimes I think people can become hyper obsessed with data, and data is awesome. Getting that information back is amazingly useful. And at some point, it's like, well, our bodies have an intelligence. I mean, this is my belief. There's no better bio device than our bodies. And so many people I think now are so disconnected from their own body intelligence. They're relying so much on these outside influences. And it's like, hey, man, like, how do you get in touch with your own body?
Mm.
How do you create that body awareness where you actually can understand? You don't need a ring to tell you that you're stressed out because you actually are in touch with your breathing, your shallow breathing, or your digestion system, or your energy. You're that tuned that you're like a Ferrari. You're so tuned that even the smallest little adjustment, whether it's one way or the other way, you feel it. And most people do not have that sense of body awareness.
Yeah.
So
It's
again,
true.
that's where these devices can help us create that body awareness,
Yeah.
but you don't want to lose the forest for the trees or whatever the saying is. I think it's like I always say, hey, how can we get people reconnected to the intelligence of their own body and not lose that by focusing so much on data and devices and sleep
Yeah.
tech or any
Exactly.
tech for that.
Exactly. And that's why we always say the human capital part, we run a data centric and human capital algorithm, meaning a health coach, and I mean, you've been voted one of the best health coaches in the US, is crucially important because what
It
happens
is.
is you walk alongside someone with that data, empowering them with the data and not getting them to a stage where they might become orthorexic, absolutely obsessed and sort of just stressed
Yes.
about the data. So I do think tech always needs someone to help you and coach you along your way.
For sure. And it actually can do the opposite if you don't have that support. If you don't have the support of a functional doctor or health coach or someone that's knowledgeable in the topic you're trying to improve, it's important for people to realize that. Because a lot of people, they think, oh, I'm just going to get a tracker, I'm going to get some blood work done, but they don't have the support system to fully make sense of the information
Yeah.
to then actually make the improvements. And that's a huge mistake. It's a huge blind spot for a lot of people. Not so much for high performers. They get
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
right? They've invested a lot in themselves. They understand how valuable their time is and how valuable other people's times is as well. But I think for the general population, that's a big blind spot for most people.
Cool. Let's talk about insomnia. Maybe you want to define it and just the types of insomnia, because it seems like you've worked with a lot of clients and that all over the world with regards to insomnia. And it seems that's also increasing significantly for many various factors. But maybe give us a definition and where we are with regards to the stats, the worldwide or US stats on insomnia.
Yeah, over 40 million Americans, and that number is growing, have insomnia. And there is a couple different types of insomnia. There's onset insomnia, maintenance insomnia. Onset insomnia is you have trouble initiating sleep. Maintenance insomnia, you have trouble staying asleep. You could have both. And then there's varying stages. It can be transient for a couple of days, acute for a couple of weeks, or chronic after 3 months. And really, it's not really insomnia unless it's affecting your life. So if you're not sleeping, if you're getting a couple hours of sleep and you're not able to function, if you're more irritable, you want to take naps, it's affecting your life in a big way because you're not sleeping. Yes, then you have insomnia. And if and depending on where in that length of time is going to dictate how severe and really what to do about it. Um, but unfortunately, most people, the mainline thing that most people do is they take sleeping medication, which is there's so many problems with that. There's these medications. If you look at the insert of the most popular medication that's prescribed for people that have insomnia, I'm not going to say what it is because
Mm. Mm.
you could do read between the lines there, but on the inserts, a side effect is insomnia.
Wow.
These medications, they're linked to dementia, Alzheimer's, increased risk of heart attack. I mean, it's not good.
Yeah.
It's not good. I mean, and here's the thing, there's a time and a place for medication. I'm not anti-medication and I'm not giving medical advice. I think, thank God we have medication, but most people, they take these medications, they rely on them, they take them for way too long. They're meant to be for a couple of weeks, not a couple of months or years. And we have people that we work with that have been on these medications for 30, 40 years.
Wow. Yeah, it's pretty
It's
crazy.
insane.
And if
It's
you're listening
crazy.
out there and you're taking sleeping tablets, we're not throwing stones at you. We
Yeah,
really, it is a factor of just life and also just lack of awareness and lack of empowerment and education. And often it's the medical doctor who keeps on writing the scripts that's a problem, or the pharmacist that keeps on giving those scripts as well.
100%.
Sometimes the doctors only wanted to do it for 2 weeks, but people find loopholes and find ways to get it.
100%.
So we want to empower you and say, listen, there are people, and there's people like Devin Burke and myself, functional medicine doctors that can help you in this process. But the key is to understand that if you carry on, it's detrimental to your health. Where I think people don't understand that. They're like, I can take half a sleeping tablet for 20, 30 years, there's no problem. Where has sort of been this misguided information?
I mean, you said it. It starts with the companies that are producing the drugs, right? I mean, that's the whole healthcare system is really a sick care system,
Mm.
and it's completely, it's completely upside down. I mean, it's a multi-billion dollar industry. And, the pharmaceutical companies, they're taking, you know, relying on these medications for however long they're going to be on them. I mean, it's so upside down. It's there. I don't want to get into the sort of the dark conversation of,
Mm.
the interwebs of actually the whole structure of things. But that's really it. And like you said, the doctors, they're doing what they're trained to do. And doctors, they don't, that's what they're trained to do, write a script. And people are begging them for it.
Yeah.
People are begging, please write me this script, please refill my script. Because one, they don't have options. They don't really, the CBTI is the next common sort of therapy, which we actually utilize some of the techniques in Sleep Science Academy with that CBTI. But there's a lack of therapists. And even in the actual CBTI sort of methodology, there's definitely some holes. There's some things that I found that are not as useful
Mm.
for certain types of people. And so people are at a loss. They don't know what to do.
When you say
And
CBTI, cognitive behavioral therapy,
for insomnia.
for insomnia. Brilliant. Okay.
Yeah, which is great. I mean, if you can find a great therapist and you have insomnia, that for sure is going to be way better than taking sleeping meds, 100%. And for certain people, depending on who you're working with, how skilled they are, how deep they understand what you're actually struggling with, your results might be more or less.
Hmm. All right, good. Someone's listening and wants to know about the ROI of sleep, and they're an entrepreneur and say, listen, I just don't have enough time to sleep. I'm running my business, I'm bootstrapping the business, got cash flow issues, or
Yeah.
corporates saying, listen, the corporate's putting under serious pressure. I've got to be on my laptop late. I just don't have enough time, or I just want to chill in front of Netflix. Where does one start just understanding sort of the mindset and the ROI on sleep?
Yeah, I think it starts with understanding how dangerous it is to not sleep. And I don't like to scare people into making decisions. I like to
Mm.
empower people with
Mm.
information. But sometimes you actually have to scare people a little bit in order for them to make a change.
Well, tell us,
And
Devin. Tell us that scary
yeah,
information.
yeah. I mean, here's the truth. So if you can get away, this is the truth. You can get away with not prioritizing or protecting sleep, not getting enough sleep, enough quality sleep for a little bit. You can do it. You can do it. And a lot of times, type A, high performers, entrepreneurs, they have a certain energy, they have a high drive, they have a little bit of a stronger system. They can get away with it for a little bit. It always catches up, always catches up. And this is kind of the scary part. It's almost like if you're at a party and somebody's clearly drunk and everyone at the party knows this person's drunk, but they don't really understand that they're drunk. They're kind of a little wobbly and they're, oh, I'm fine, I'm fine. This is kind of what happens to an entrepreneur after they sacrifice sleep for so long. They're not aware that they're making bad decisions. They're not aware that they're not being emotionally intelligent. They're not aware that um, there's this lack of awareness around where they could be if they were protecting sleep, if they were drawing boundaries, if they were, doing the things to actually get more and more quality sleep. When you don't get enough sleep, you increase your risk of every major disease, Alzheimer's, dementia, heart attack. Um, Even after one night, your insulin will show like you're a pre-diabetic. after one night of getting 4 hours of sleep. So like your body chemistry, even after one night, your cortisol goes up and it stays up. That's the stress hormone, right? There's a cascade effect of that. Testosterone, your testosterone goes through the floor. I think it was Dr. Matt Walker in his amazing TED talk. He talked about men's testicles actually shrinking.
Yeah.
And that's because if you're not getting enough sleep, your body's not producing that. You're not healing or repairing. Your body's not producing the testosterone. Like sleep is the number one hack for increasing your testosterone. Number one hack. Your sex drive, if testosterone is not high, your sex drive is going to drop, right? You're more irritable, you're more emotional, you're less, you make bad decisions. And then again, you're not aware. This is the most dangerous part about this whole thing. You're not aware of this. It's a slow, gradual process. And you could feel it. I know after one night of poor sleep, the next day for me, I'm foggy, I'm irritable. I can notice a little bit more tension and stress, a little bit more things kind of that wouldn't normally bother me do. And there's a downside effect to that, right? The lymph system in the brain. I mean, that's during the night. That's when that clears out the beta amyloid, the plaque that builds up that creates Alzheimer's, right? There's real science around the importance of getting into these deeper stages of sleep and staying there long enough for these body systems to actually take place.
So you're
Blood
saying to
pressure.
entrepreneurs, business owners, like it's really going to affect your ability to make profit, to make the correct business decisions, and corporate executive, you're going to make mistakes. You're not going to be able to focus, concentrate. So at the end of the day, it has a huge mental performance from a business perspective.
Massive, 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 millions and millions and millions of dollars. And the sad part is people are not aware of it. They think people that are not sleeping enough think that they're making good decisions, and they're not. And it's clear to most people around them, but depending on the environment and how open the team is, or the executive team is, to actually and that's the dangerous part. It's sort of like this insidious thing that you don't. It's a gradual process. It can be fast, but it's not in somebody's awareness. And until you start to actually improve your sleep and get the deeper quality sleep that you actually need and prioritize and protect it, then you're like, oh my God, I can't believe how much clearer my mind is, how much more energized I feel, how much more grounded, how much more stable I feel. I didn't realize. I hear that a lot. I didn't realize.
Yeah. Sure. Those are big things to consider for those business folk. Is there a test to like sort of an online test that you would know to see what your quality is like without sort of doing the data-centric model to say this is how I feel or it affects my performance? Like if we put a link, do you know like any of those tests just to give some type of subjective feeling?
Yeah, MEQ test. You could just Google it, like MEQ test. The thing is, it's really subjective. It's like I think there's you got to be subjective and objective.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
taking a subjective sort of test like that, as well as getting a device and actually starting to see, hey, look under the hood, like
Mm,
what's going on here? How well or poor am I really sleeping?
mm.
I think attacking it from both sides is really the thing to do, Steve, if for somebody that cares about
Yeah.
this.
What about sleep efficiency and sleep latency? Any other sort of sleep data points? Sleep temperature. A lot of these things are now measuring temperature of your skin. Give us
Yeah.
a little bit more on the data side, what important variables there are.
Yeah, so your body temperature needs to drop 2 to 3 degrees Fahrenheit in order for sleep to happen. That's why having an ambient environment that's on the cooler side, depending on who you're reading, 67 degrees Fahrenheit, 68 degrees Fahrenheit, you want it cool, dark, and quiet from like a sleep hygiene standpoint. But that's because our body temperature needs to drop and fluctuates throughout the night, depending on the different stages of sleep you're in. So if you're sleeping in a hot environment, for example, if you're sleeping on a mattress that stores body heat, it's not good. Your body's not going to be able to cool down to get into those deeper stages of sleep. So now, of course, mattress companies kind of caught on to this and are creating mattress tech, different types of materials, different types of foam, different types of things, devices that can kind of keep your body sort of try to match your body, not store that heat. But body temperature is really, really important when we're talking about sleep, as well as light, light timing, what types of light, what frequencies of light. Um, that does make a difference on sleep quality without a doubt. Blue light, there's a lot of people know about blue light, right? Blue light blocking glasses. Um, a lot of the blue light blocking glasses out there, though, unfortunately, they filter out the wrong frequency of light. And so, making sure that making sure that you understand the technology of light and how to use it. But nothing beats the technology of just getting outside and getting sun first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
Watching a fire or some kind of candescent candle late at night, candlelight in your home. Again, like we can try to mimic nature with devices and things. Nothing beats the real thing, though. Watching a sunset, extremely helpful for setting your circadian rhythm. Watching the sunrise, extremely helpful for setting the circadian rhythm. Getting your feet on the ground, grounding, there's real science around that. People think, oh, that's like hippie stuff. No, there's a reason why you walk on the beach, barefoot, and you notice a difference in how you feel. It's not just the beauty. It's actually there's a frequency that you're connecting to that we're most of the time we're disconnected from.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So all of these things are simple, but most people don't make the time to actually do them because they're too busy.
Sure. Sleep latency and sleep efficiency, just your thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, sleep latency. So how long it takes you to fall asleep. Here's the thing. If you fall asleep as soon as your head hits the pillow, then you're not getting enough sleep or enough quality sleep. It should take generally about 10 to 15 minutes for sleep to happen. You can't force or control sleep. Sleep happens. So if your head hits the pillow and you're out, some people might think, oh, that's like a good sign. That's actually a sign that you're not getting enough sleep or enough quality sleep. So that's a really important thing for people to pay attention to. Sleep efficiency is time in bed actually is sleep. And generally you want your sleep efficiency to be at 90% or above. That's the metric that we're looking for. Can you get above 90% sleep efficiency? Yeah. And so one of the things, a big mistake people make is if they're not sleeping enough, they actually spend too much time in bed. If you're not sleeping, let's say you wake up in the middle of the night, you're not able to, you notice you're awake. If after about 15, 20 minutes, your sleep is not happening, you actually want to get out of bed, go to a place, have a plan. You're not doing it to get back to sleep, just do it to do it. When you start to feel sleepy, get back in bed. That's going to actually help your sleep efficiency because you don't want to stay in bed when you're awake. There's only two things you do in bed: sleep and, make love to your bed partner. That's it.
Brilliant. Okay, cool. Let's talk about the sleeping tablets and medication destroy architecture. From what I know, you can maybe just comment on that because I think that's important.
Yeah. So I like to give the analogy. If you're walking down the street and someone just punched you in the face and you were on you got knocked out and other people were walking by, they might think, oh, that person looks like they're asleep, look peacefully in the grass. No, you're knocked out. There's a difference between sedation and real sleep.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, a lot of the medications, specifically the ones that people take in order to help improve their sleep, they're sedatives. They're sedating you and you're actually not getting into sleep. You're not getting. So if we went into a sleep lab and you got all the, all the things on and we're measuring your brain waves, you're not going to be, you take one of these pills and it looks like you're asleep. You're actually not getting into the deeper stages of sleep because you're sedated. There's a big, big difference. And that's why when you take sleeping medication, you never really feel refreshed.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it's not real sleep. It's not real sleep.
Yeah, it's good. Your favorite supplements, theanine, PS, phosphatidylserine, taurine, minoxidil, apigenin, methylene blue has helped some of my clients. What has been sort of your stack, or where do you go to? Magnesium threonate. Been doing functional medicine for a while. There's some of these stacks, but once again, you've got to be careful that someone is not dependent or enslaved to these, even the supplements, because then
Exactly.
basically it needs that chemical or that supplement to fall asleep. Tell us your favorite stacks, because I do think they're far better. The things that we've measured on people's sleep, it hasn't really affected their sleep architecture. In fact, sometimes taking an ashwagandha or rhodiola and keeping their cortisol down has improved the architecture and quantity. Tell us your perspective.
Yeah, I think for sure it's like test, don't guess, right? So start with the basics. Like, are you deficient in vitamin D? Most people are. Are you deficient in magnesium? Most people are. So if you're not, but don't just start taking stuff. Like actually go to a functional doctor, get a test, understand, hey, cover the bases first. Then you can start to play with some of the other herbs, some of the other types of supplements. But the truth is that in my experience, that's only like a 2% increase, maybe 3, maybe 5 at most, making a difference versus like some of the other lifestyle and mindset shifts that somebody could make that
Yeah.
would actually make massive difference in their sleep quality and depth. I actually really like kava,
Okay.
the root. I really like kava, and I like it for a number of different reasons. It actually rebuilds the GABA system in the brain. So a lot of the times people that are taking sleeping medications, they're depleting the GABA system in the brain. And kava has been found it has a reverse tolerance. So the more you take it, the less you need to take to feel the effect. And it actually has been proven to rebuild the GABA system in the brain versus deplete it. And it acts on
Wow.
the similar part of the brain that a lot of these medications act on, only it does it in a positive way and has a very similar effect. Now you want to make sure it doesn't taste very good.
Hmm.
It's actually, have you ever had kava, Steve?
I've had tablets we've got here in my dispensary, Clonia Kava, but I don't know if that's the same as Kava root.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure. There's a lot of different products out there. They powder it. There's some
Mm.
tinctures. But the real kava, the stuff that they drink in the Polynesian islands, it looks like muddy water and it does not
Uh,
taste good. Does not taste good, but it's effective.
okay.
And there are some good products now that are out there on the market. Kavaplex is one of them. They make a kava oil. And I have found that to make a difference in depth and quality of sleep, and also helping to reduce some of the anxiety and stress that people experience
Mm.
towards the end of the day.
Okay. What about things like marijuana and using psychedelics and medicinal mushrooms and
Yeah,
those type of things with regards to sleep?
I love the question. Yeah, I love it. So marijuana, THC has been found to, similar to alcohol, get in the way of getting into the deeper stages of REM sleep. So it's a better alternative, I think, than taking a sleeping medication. And it can be just as effective, if not more effective, with the right strain and the right dose and the right timing. Um, I think psychedelics for sure, specifically psilocybin from, magic mushrooms, they can be very helpful for people. Microdosing, 100%. But again, it depends on the setting, the dose, the quality of the mushroom that you're taking. I think there needs to be a lot more research around the connection between microdosing. Well, sleep and mental health are directly connected, right?
Yeah.
So like if you're usually, like I always say, your sleep often is a reflection of your life. If you're not sleeping well, then there's something probably in your life that you need to attend to or look at. And so most people, if they're in a mentally good space, sleep happens. If you're in a mentally stressed state or your relationships, there's tension or something in your life is needing attention, chances that you're going to be, your mind's going to race or you're going to have a hard time initiating sleep or whatever it is, not getting to these deeper stages of sleep are going to be a lot higher. So there's a direct correlation. So, the research is showing um, a lot of positive results for people using psilocybin that have mental health issues like anxiety and depression. Um, but I haven't seen anything specifically on sleep besides just anecdotal,
Mm.
experimentation.
Great. And what about chronotypes? Do you believe in this, the fox and the night owl and the early bird? Is that something that you sort of put in a frame when you see people?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, chronobiology is a science, and I think understanding your own sleep architecture or chronotype is valuable. And Dr. Michael Bruce, he wrote a book called The Power of When. He really went deep into chronobiology. I think like anything, you can read into it too much, but I think there's value there. So understanding, hey, what is my chronotype? Am I a morning person, an evening person, somewhere in the middle, and trying to, this is where it becomes really difficult, Steve, is people try to, it's very hard to fit your chronobiology into your lifestyle. Not everybody is a business owner. Not everybody has the flexibility of time or schedule. And so that becomes a real issue because in a perfect world, your schedule and your day and how you structure things is in alignment with your chronobiology. That would be fantastic. But obviously we don't live in that world.
Oh, it just makes sense from an ancestral perspective because some people went to bed early and then guarded, early in the morning. Other people went to bed late, guarded and looked after sort of the village. Other people were in the middle, so it sort of makes sense. And we will put the link to the Dr. Michael Bruce episode that we did with Michael, and I think it was pretty profound from a chronotype perspective. But I use it rather loosely. It may test drive. It's something that we suggest. But some people can say, oh, well, I'm a fox now. That means I can go to bed at like 1, 2 o'clock, not respected. And, I'll wake up
Right.
whenever I want to wake up and then miss the morning sunlight and, missing. I think it's loose, but I think it is important for some people, especially the dolphins. I've got a daughter who I think is a dolphin who's just, since she was a baby, it's like we've got 2 kids. We raised them the same home. I think she's, even more stable now than when we were a bit younger with my son, but just battles and just not a good sleeper at all. Just wakes up frequently. It's a struggle.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, most people, we have them do a chronotype test when they come into our program, and we're dealing with people that have chronic insomnia for decades, and almost all of them are what we call like a dolphin,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So I think they're for sure there's something there, but like it's how are you using it? How are you using that information? And that's really, we can say that about anything.
yeah. What about infrared sauna? I know the entrepreneurs and those high performers, infrared sauna and cold plunges and cryotherapy and even peptides. Have you got any experience with peptides or stacking these peptides? What are the sort of the latest, things that people can hold on to? I mean, I've got infrared sauna right here in my office. I find it's exceptionally good at just stimulating the parasympathetic nervous system and down regulating my
100%.
system. And so the light is very important. But from your perspective, for these high achievers, what has been helpful and what has actually been hurtful?
Yeah, I think so for sure. Their infrared sauna, cold therapy done properly is extremely helpful for. I mean, here the truth is anything that's good for your health is going to be good for your sleep and vice versa, right? But we have seen people that start to incorporate infrared sauna or cold plunge therapy into their lifestyle, their sleep improves because of what you just said. The parasympathetic nervous system is being trained, and it's just for sure there's a big difference. Delta sleep inducing peptide, that's kind of one of the DSIP. I actually personally experimented with that. I didn't notice a
Hmm.
difference. I was
Delta
literally shooting.
inducing peptide.
Yeah, delta
Yeah.
sleep inducing peptide. So that one is supposed to help you get into the deeper stages of sleep, specifically delta sleep. But again, here's the thing: like, was I went to a functional doctor? It was prescribed, the whole thing. It's something that you actually unfortunately have to inject into yourself. I was
Hmm.
doing this because I was curious
Yeah.
to see. And I didn't notice a difference in the quality or depth of my sleep. Now, was that because it was a bad batch or whatever, was an old, who knows? Who
Yeah.
knows?
Or you didn't
So
need it, Devin. You didn't need it. Maybe, that's the thing. Sometimes you're doing
yes,
something, your body doesn't need it.
exactly. Exactly. So yeah, and that's so I think again, I think people have to be careful not to obsess about sleep and that it's easy to do because it's so important. It deserves to be on a pedestal. I mean, it literally is the foundation of
Mm.
extraordinary health. It's more from a even from a simple survival standpoint. It's like a couple of minutes without air, a couple of days without water. The next thing in line is actually sleep, not
Yeah.
food or movement. So people, when people put this on a pedestal, sometimes people become obsessed over it, and it creates more stress.
Yeah.
Now they're mentally thinking, "Oh my God, I need to take all these supplements or I need to do all these things." And that's not useful. That's kind of a trap that people can fall into, trying to force control something that happens.
Got you.
right?
Got you. Let's talk about
Yeah.
food, because I think what's moved the needle most and what damages my sleep the most out of anything is eating, too close to bedtime, too close to sleep. For me, if I'm, especially in the Mediterranean, got Greek heritage, if I have a really good solid breakfast, train hard in the morning, especially zone five, I'll talk to you about exercise, but a really hard zone five session, really good meal at lunch, get a lot of sunlight, and then from about 3 o'clock, I'm not eating, then my sleep is the best, just subjectively, the way I feel, and objectively. So talk to us a little bit about the power of when you eat.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So same, Steve. So I've done some experiments. Again, I experiment on myself all the time with different things. The biggest thing that moved the needle on my deep sleep, and actually not just seeing in the data, but actually feeling it. It's great when you can see it and feel it,
Mm,
right? Subjective and objective. Um, was adjusting meal timing. And some people need more time between their last bite of food and actually bedtime, depending on your metabolism, depending on what type of food you're eating.
yeah,
Um, it does make a huge difference. I know somebody that actually now they only eat lunch, and it's made a tremendous difference in their quality and depth of sleep. Just eating that meal just at lunch and not having any food after that. Now,
yeah,
for most people, that's really difficult.
yeah,
For most people, I hear all the time, like, oh, I need to eat something or I won't sleep. I need to go to bed on a full stomach. It's like we train ourselves to like think that we need these things. But generally, I think most people minimum 3 hours fasting between time asleep and actually your last meal. Some people need longer,
yeah.
depending on again how fast is your metabolism. And what are you eating? Are you eating something that's going to take more energy to actually break down and digest? What's the quality of what you're eating? It's another big important thing.
Mm.
It's like it's not just what you eat; it's the quality of whatever it is you're eating. So but that's a big lever to pull for people that are looking to increase uh, deep sleep, because most of our deep sleep actually happens in the first quarter of the night. The first two cycles, those 90-minute cycles that we have, most of the deep sleep happens in those first two cycles. And so you don't want to be digesting your food. You don't want the blood to be going to your stomach to try to digest your food when it should be, cleaning out the cancerous cells, when it should be, restoring your mind and body. That's not what we want. We don't want digestion happening at that time.
Cool. And then just exercise, what have you found? Zone two, zone three, zone five, outdoor, indoor, gym, exercise classes. What has been the most beneficial for people sleep?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends. Again, it depends. Some people need more intense exercise. Some people need less intense exercise. It depends on your stress level, depends on what's going on in your life. Timing of exercise, though, I can speak to that generally. It's that, if you exercise too late into the day, it's going to heat your body up and your body's going to have a hard time dropping into the deeper stages of sleep or falling asleep. So if you can exercise earlier, it's always better. But again, some people don't have the option of that because of their schedule or whatever it is. So any exercise is going to be better than none, because it's a stress reliever. It's moving, you're moving oxygen, you're moving blood, you're moving lymph, all really important things. Um, but yeah, being mindful of what type of exercise and how close to bedtime, that's a thing to explore for sure.
And then
Yeah.
from a sleep hygiene perspective, we normally say an hour. So we set your bedtime. You really want to be in bed and sleeping by, within 10 to 15 minutes, this latency. So if
Yeah.
you want to sleep at quarter past 10, you need to get bed 10. And then you need to start sleep hygiene at really about 9. As a practical way, what are your suggestions there? Of course, I mean, the sun goes down. You could put, like, the sun's gone down at 6 here in South Africa. You could put your red blue blockers on. It's quite tough, to have dinner and, just connect with people when you got red blue blockers. In fact, my wife says, when we go out to the mall at night for a meal, you're not wearing those things. So it's just not, it's just not
That's
an
great.
option, but
That's hilarious.
tell about your sleep hygiene, in terms of
Uh,
timing and what you do.
yeah, no, this is a great question. And so generally there's like a 3-2-1 sleep type of thing. So 3 hours before you want to be asleep, you don't want to really be working, right? You don't want to be, because it takes some time for the mental plane to
Yeah.
land. And a lot of us tend to take our days into our nights, and we need some space between, like, okay, the work day's over. Let's transition to like non-work day. That needs to be at least 3 hours. So like the sleep hygiene really starts 3 hours before bed, right? And then it's okay, now it's transitioning to what do I do 2 hours? Okay, now let me see if I can get off my devices. Now some people are like, are you crazy? Like that's insane. 2 hours? What am I going to do? I always tell people, listen, find something you're interested in that doesn't involve technology or doesn't mentally stimulate you. That could be reading. I actually play piano.
Oh,
I play
wow.
piano.
Wow.
So I'm learning how to play piano. Oh my gosh, it's been so amazing to really when I'm playing. It's so relaxing. I'm totally focused. I'm hearing the notes. I'm hearing the music. It's so relaxing, and that's part of my bedtime. I make a tea and I play piano, and then I start to feel sleepy. I get in bed sometimes. Maybe I'll read for a little bit. Sometimes I'm just in bed talking to my wife, and that's it. But it's really about finding, okay, what's going to work for you? What could you do that would create a parasympathetic nervous system response? What can you do to signal to your body that you're safe, that the day's over, that there's no problems you need to solve?
Yeah.
So for some people, people play puzzles, people play music, people stretch, yoga. Some people learn, musical instruments. Um, you know, I think there is a time and a place sometimes for some technology, as long as it doesn't become a habit. If you're
Yeah.
watching a funny show, something like that, that's light, that's not, going to create fear, doubt, and worry right before bed. But it's really I always say it's up to the person to create what that ritual or routine is going to look like, because who am I to tell you what to do?
Yeah. It's true. Devin Burke, you're incredible sleep specialist, sleep author. You got the Sleep Science Academy. Well done. We'll put all the links to the show notes. Maybe just give a message of hope where people sort of can, hold on to in this crazy, overstimulated world.
Yeah, I mean, the message of hope is honestly, if we get back to living the way that we're meant to live, which is literally just getting back to nature, all the problems can be solved. Like the answers are here. It's really in getting back to how things natural things. I think people we are way too hyper stimulated, way too focused on all of this technology, and it's like, man, the simple things make the biggest difference. Breathing, sleeping, connecting with loved ones, like moving your body. It's like connect to that as your baseline. And you do that, you're going to feel better, you're going to perform better, you're going to sleep better.
Brilliant. Well, I want to declare favor and blessing over you that you would rise up even stronger in your calling and your purpose. And thank you for the good work that you're doing. I know you're changing many, many people's lives, and really an honor and a privilege to have you on the Made to Thrive show.
Steve, thank you so much for giving me a platform to share this. I hope it add value to all the listeners.